Every business is going to have all their own software, aren't they? They truly are. They truly are. You're going to be able to build internally with your own team better software than you're probably using right now. Like within, I mean, you can even do it now if you've got a bit of skill, but like it's going to get easier and easier and easier. The amount of software, I said months ago that it's going to be 10 times. I mean, that's light. That is honestly light. It's just going to be more. It's going to be more than that. It's just going to look completely different. You know, the other big trend in software that I'm seeing is software is going to be all agentic. So as an example, so I'm building this voice app with a friend and we're going to try and launch a bit of a side business about it. So it's a voice application. The idea is we want to replace manuals. That's kind of the idea. We want to replace manuals because you go and talk to this support AI, this AI agent that supports you on your car or your TV or whatever. What we've realized, or what I've realized, because I'm sort of running the tech on it, is that I think we can get users to the website. They can talk to an AI voice that will transcribe that conversation with the AI voice. We'll direct the conversation. Based on that transcript we get, we can then get the AI to then set up the customer's account automatically. That will set up like everything about their account. So it helps them create their own AI agent. And then that AI agent can be used for whatever manual they need or whatever help they need. And there's obviously like an enterprise business to get a job done.
Well, I mean, in that case, you may never have to go leave your search engine, because have you seen the Google Audio feature now that they just have rolled out? I think it's in the playground, where when you get a search result, you click on it and it basically creates an audio summary of what you just searched for. You know, it's kind of like a mini LM Studio where it basically turns your query answer into a small podcast.
That's right. Yeah. And then you'll be able to talk to it and stuff like that. Yeah. It's going to be hard to make a living online and from an informational sense going forward. It truly is. I think a lot of people are seeing this, by the way. Anecdotally, I've seen a lot of things online around this. Anything around content or information, that era, I think, is well gone. It's over. Yeah. But experience is a different one. Like experience is different. I think that's just started. It's just beginning. So it's about finding a way to build quality experiences around getting things done or entertainment or whatever. We're moving into the era of experience online. It's better than what it was before. It honestly is, but massively disruptive.
Well, and you know, it's kind of like, where's the moat in any of that? That it's kind of like, there are going to be, I think, great ideas coming out every day, but then you can basically just take and say, oh, that's a great idea. Build me that.
Yeah.
And so it kind of goes back to what we were saying, is that the only people who have kind of a guaranteed future in this are the people who own the compute, and where it doesn't matter what people do. It's like, they're going to, you know, it's kind of like, if you own the roads, you're going to collect tolls regardless of what cars, you know, people drive and where. Yeah. And I kind of am swayed the bulk of the benefit is going to accrue to individual users. I mean, I feel as a user, the consumer surplus that I've captured, I mean, in terms of what I have to pay for this and what I would be willing to pay, is enormous. I mean, the gap is orders of magnitude. In terms of what the producers are capturing, they're not going to be able to, because the minute something gets real expensive, somebody's going to step in and create an open source version or figure out how to make it cheaper. And, you know, it just seems like the cost is always driving down to zero.
Yeah, I think Andrew Carpathy, the well-known AI guy, he actually wrote an article. I listened to it. Someone podcasted about the article and basically said exactly the same thing, that there actually hasn't been many technologies that have benefited the consumer more than the enterprise or more than the government like AI has. And it's absolutely true.
You know, and you were saying about kind of that, you know, every business having their own software. I think it's even going to get crazier than that, which is every analyst is going to have their completely individualized stack.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, organizations trying to, you know, kind of maintain that tight control that, you know, IT departments historically have wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah. I'm smiling at that because I'm seeing exactly the same. This is the other thing that is going to disrupt the data world as well, right? Is that in this new world, what is the point in centralizing your data work in IT? Honestly, what is the point? There is no point, but you're just holding your business back in a lot of cases. Like your users are going to be able to just upload CSVs or upload data where it is, or connect to a system that they're using, which they know well through through some sort of like MCP type connection, and they'll just want to do it themselves. They will
Right.
not want to wait. They will not want to wait for the data warehouse or, I mean, even a few years ago, you're waiting weeks, months to actually get some data insight, right? Like you'll be able to do it in a day, like when all this is hooked up, and it's just going to be so much better. And that's exactly the same on the automations and app front as well. It's a complete democratization. I mean, a lot of IT is going to be shuddering at the thought there, right? And that's why they're probably quite hesitant to really push this. But this is what the new organization is going to become. This is going to be the new way to build an organization and to run it.
I think, this NL Web concept where every web page that's NL Web compliant becomes an MCP server. I mean, at that point, like the genie is totally out of the box. What are you going to do? Tell people they can't surf the web?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like the ability to govern that is pretty much out the window, I think.
mm,
And there's definitely going to be some downside to that, but from the standpoint of the analyst, it's just like you're totally unconstrained now in terms of the tools. You just use what you need for the job at hand. I mean, it's an amazing world.
yeah. Yeah, it's so true. The other thing that is just so clear in my mind now is it's quite hard for me to say, and probably for, I don't know if you to agree, is that Microsoft's software business, like their core software business, like all of their apps and stuff, it's getting disrupted. It
Oh,
truly is. It truly is. And I don't know how they actually change the directionally what is going on there. I just think that that historic software is just going to get sort of turned on its head. That all of the value that they have generated over time through these tools, even Excel, even I just don't see it surviving or being as big a moat as it was going forward. It will still be around, I think, for a few years, but once you get into these AI clients and it's just so easy, even just creating a PowerPoint or even just creating an Excel, like it's just inefficient. It's just going to be inefficient to running a deep research or
right.
getting something built in like a chart library built through some custom prompts that you make. Like I don't think that there's any stopping it now. And I think they know this. And I'm not saying that they lose it all. I mean, their Azure business is going to compound at
They own compute.
incredible rate. So
Yeah.
they're fine. They're not going to struggle at all. I mean, even anecdotally, I heard that their Azure platform's never grown as fast as it is right now, which
Right.
makes a lot of sense. But and by the way, their Azure business, I think, is 4 times bigger than their software business as well. I don't, like, I think I saw a chart the other day. So their Azure business is more important now anyway. But
Right.
I just, even like all the tools that we used to, like, I struggle to see. And I'm not saying they're going to go away anytime soon. I'm just saying I think there's just going to be this like slow erosion of their use over time. And it will just continually degrade because everyone's just going to move to these AI clients, like things like Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, PowerPoint, even like Access, and just all these tools that they've had over time. Like they're just going to slowly erode. I don't think there's any changing that direction just because of the inflection point of using these AI systems.
Well, I mean, we've talked about the fact that they've gone all in on this Copilot strategy, and that it's kind of like, okay, you've got this unified environment, and that there's one AI that you have to go to, and you don't have to use all these different models and everything. And maybe that's going to remain attractive for a while, but I just feel like the whole operating system gets so much simpler. I mean, I've been a Windows user for 35 years, because it's like transferring to anything else is just a nightmare.
Mm,
And now it's like all you need is basically a client, which is probably going to collapse to just needing a browser.
yep.
You can't yet, that all the MCP clients that are full featured are their own apps right now, but they're all going to move to being web based. I mean, Claude's already, or I'm sorry, OpenAI has already started that their implementation of MCP is far more web based than anybody else's. And so you can see even early on, the progression is just keeping it in the browser. And so
Mm,
if you're spending all your time there, or you're going to be soon, and all you need is a browser running, that doesn't keep you locked into anything.
yeah.
And the other thing is that with the clients being open source and the memory carrying easily between clients, there's nothing to keep you tied to any particular system, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is like they obviously see that and they're trying to use Copilot as this bridge into the new world, right? And so they're just like thrusting Copilot in front of everyone. But when you step back a bit, you see that there's just no differentiation anymore. It's just everything's just becoming a box on a screen. So how does Microsoft differentiate or add immense value above anyone else who has a box on the screen? Like, it's just nowhere near as deep a moat as it used to be, right? It absolutely isn't. So everything's being rewired there for sure. But these tools they'll take a while to wind down, but I think it will actually happen quicker than most things. Like this is what I believe, like what I think about analytics is because everyone's already in these things. They're already in now. And so the switch to go to all out, do all your analytics there, or do all your data engineering there, or do all your presentation creation in there, or deep research, like there is very little friction to move if something becomes available, or the more in a combination of the connection and the model gets to a point, boom, like the next day you're using it.
Right.
And so that adoption is just going to be so rapid. And again, like it's when you're realistic about it, you really struggle to see how Microsoft's stable of software continues to create a massive moat for them anymore. I just think it's reality, and they obviously see it. They're very.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure. I think here's one of the things I think is a subtle tip off that they do see it is I think if you look at how intrusive the Copilot, look at how colorful and intrusive that Copilot logo is. It's everywhere. And when you click, you sometimes are kind of obscured by it. I think what they're doing is they're kind of constantly reminding you you're in Copilot. Like,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because when you're kind of moving, like when I'm in Cherry, I don't even know what I'm using it oftentimes. I have to look up at the top bar to see what model am I in, what client, what subscription am I using, what MCP tools are turned on for that. Because you can actually set up basically different chat profiles. And so even within the same model, you can have different profiles with different custom instructions, different personas. And so you have to kind of orient yourself constantly to kind of, okay, where am I? What am I doing? And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's that you've got this constant flexibility to be moving, shifting, kind of adapting to the problem at hand. And so I think Microsoft is making this very strong statement that you're in Copilot, you're in Copilot, you're in Copilot, because I think otherwise you don't even really know. And I think they're trying to kind of reinforce that this integration is important, at least for the users they're trying to gear it to.
Yeah. Like even when I saw today, I think even when you open Excel now, the first thing you see is Copilot. So, they're just slowly changing it over. But look, I don't think they're doing actually the wrong thing. I think they have no choice. They have to do it, or their products become less relevant even quicker.
Right.
But this is, I think, everything's moving to this box on a screen where this agentic workflow. And look, and don't get me wrong, like Microsoft is still going to win massive. Like even Satya Nadella said the other day, every time someone does a query in OpenAI, that's good, in ChatGPT, that's good for us because they're just like making a millicent here and a millicent there in every query, like the more people who use any AI client at this point that goes through their servers, they're winning and their Azure business is going to like grow massively, so they're still going to win. No doubt about it. I even think I saw in this chart that LinkedIn is making a substantial amount of money, like $4 billion a quarter or something.
Yeah, I saw that. But here's the thing I want to ask you. So have you heard now that Microsoft and OpenAI are kind of at war over the Windsurf acquisition?
Oh, really? No, I haven't heard that one.
Oh,
because of because it's a VS Code fork. But
yeah. And I mean, it's supposedly caused like, I mean, if we're going to talk, I want to open up the neutron or the neuron just so I get it right. But the stuff they were reporting that was coming from the Wall Street Journal is they are they are seriously like threatening each other over this one.
That's really interesting because windsurf is a rocket ship. It's an absolute rocket ship. And I mean, maybe we just don't understand fully the relationship that they have. But from what I thought, Microsoft owned half of OpenAI. So why would they not want to buy into a rocket ship?
Yeah, yeah, and the interesting thing is when I mean the thing I saw from the start that I knew was going to be a friction point was when the OpenAI board says that they have reached AGI, they have the right to terminate the Microsoft agreement.
Mm.
And,
Mm.
that is a huge thing. And then there's supposedly a lot of tension over compute.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think Microsoft sits on the board. And so they have a vote in whether OpenAI moves to this for-profit model. And so there's a lot of money and a lot of conflict around this. And it just
Mm.
seems like the Windsurf acquisition, from what I gather, is kind of the
Mm.
spark point at the moment.
It's interesting because, you use like Windsurf and Cursor are basically replicas of VS Code owned by Microsoft. And they're running rings around GitHub Copilot who had like a years of head start. And not only like it's almost like they're dominating GitHub Copilot, absolutely dominating, like just in the features and the functionality. I don't know. It must be embarrassing. They must see it as sort of like embarrassing that they're getting beaten up so much. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to know.
I mean, the one that cracks me up is Apple. I mean, you've been using Whisper Flow, right?
Yeah, I got it. It isn't. It's annoying how on your phone you need to flip out. Like it's just not a totally native integration. Just
And
shows you
that's an
much.
Apple limitation.
I know. It just shows you how annoying Apple is. That they do that for their. Yeah, it's just this.
They don't allow you to set a default keyboard.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
annoying.
but
So annoying.
once you switch it over, it's flawless. And
So good. So
that's
good.
Apple hasn't been able to do that in 18 years, and this company of under 50 people did it like in a year.
Yeah. Look, I heard this guy on Twitter. Who knows what to believe, but very seems to have done very well and was an ex-developer. He was sort of saying that you'll be able to do more with 5 to 6 people than you were with 100 people, like in a couple of years, like and from a software perspective. So having big teams is not an advantage anymore. I think that's playing out as particularly in the software space. Having big teams is probably a disadvantage because of all of the friction, human friction that is being created around meetings and decisions and things like this. Like you can see it. I can see it. I mean, you can imagine what it would be like in a big government organization, and
Yeah.
like like these things, particularly on the software side. The software side, these agents can just get on and do it. Like they'll be able to do it 24/7. Like so you'll be able to achieve way more like that, which is kind of exciting, mind blowing too. Absolutely mind blowing. I keep saying this, like there are so many challenges that as a society is we can tackle now. We can turn so many new things into agentic software, like so many new problems or so many new use cases into agentic type software. It's going to be incredible.
Well, I mean, if you go back, just within our world of Power BI, you look at over the past 5 years, how individuals, literally people working out of their home, James Dale's for, the mapping, the Tacantus, Pro map is way better than Azure Maps.
Yeah.
You look at, the DAX query, and that's come a long way, but I would still say Tabular Editor 3 is way out in front, and that's one guy plus.
Mm.
And so you're right. And that's before development became as cheap and easy as it is now, in terms of, no, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's much faster. And I would say the cost per product is a lot lower.
10 times lower. Like I'm not even joking. 10 times lower.
And so, the fact that even then these individual developers and very small teams were out competing major, trillion-dollar market cap corporations at very specific things, kind of shows that now I think, just the ability of people to do that is just going to increase.
Yeah. It's a continuation of that trend. You know what was historically a massive unlock there was actually Zoom, right? Like Zoom was a moment in time where if you remember, you had to use like Skype, and it was horrible and hopeless, or you had to use WebEx. These things were
Google
just like
Meet.
not even reliable, right? And then Zoom came along, picture perfect, like this, and then boom, all of a sudden, remote work was 100% possible and doable. That was just one step on the chain where it's going to become even more so now. Like one of the truisms of history is the more that you trade, right? The more that you trade, like globalization, the more that you trade globally over time, over hundreds of years, it is shown that we all get richer, we all get better off. This is again just to me, we're going to be trading at the micro level. Like we've been trading at the sort of macro and enterprise level, but we're going to be trading more and more and more at the individual level, which again, I just think is going to make everyone wealthier, everyone better off. I mean, that's just sort of like a high level thought bubble there, but there's this book I read. It was about this very thing, how trade makes everyone wealthy. I think it was called Birth of Plenty. Birth of Plenty. I read it a few years ago. So fascinating. And the micro transactions, the individuals transacting with other individuals online. It's already started. It's already started and it's been going on. I mean, I'd even class enterprise DNA as kind of that, right? Like it kind of in that bucket. But it's just going to continue. It's going to accelerate in this new era in so many different ways. So many new and different ways.
Well, I think a good example of that is, the cost of software has come down so dramatically, but I spend way more per month on software than I ever did before.
So
Way more.
so do I. It's just different.
Yeah.
Just
And
different.
it's like, 10, 15, $20 at a time, or in some cases, 6 cents at a time.
Yep.
Um,
You know what's going to happen though is that this is going to be the story. I've heard of this. I've heard this from VCs. Is that because software is now moving into the human realm? It's moving to where humans used to get jobs done. That overall software spend could double, could triple potentially because it's moving into more agentic type software that you can fulfill human type roles with, which have a higher value in a lot of cases. So that's going to be a fascinating trend to watch out for as well.
yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's like the ability to pay a bit more for a stack that works exactly the way I want it to.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, even though my costs have gone up,
Mm.
my satisfaction and my production has gone up far faster than my costs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just take those ERP. The reason ERP system implementations in businesses cost so much is because of all the customizations that you needed. And you needed to get people to come in and customize them. And you needed to go to a 1 week SAP training to actually understand how the system actually works. Like the SAP used to charge you 20 grand to go to this training. Like the entire system is just getting thrown out the window in my opinion, right? Like, obscene costs for large enterprise, right? Like you'll be able to have, you'll be able to have an expert internally vibe code a prototype in a weekend to replace your ERP, and then you might need to get a dev team to come in and like make it all work really, really well. I don't even think ERP software is even that hard to build anymore. Like it's just input screens in a database. Like it's unbelievable democratization. That is for sure. Absolutely crazy democratization.
One thing that I think is that I'm seeing is, and I wonder if you see it as well, that the one thing that used to drive me nuts about Power BI and Tableau and all the BI tools is the amount of time and effort you'd have to spend on all the rinky dink little stuff, in terms of,
Yeah.
aligning stuff and color themes and, should have shadows, should have curves, kind of all the stuff to make it look good.
Mm.
And I never was very good at it. And maybe that's why I didn't like it, but it always just seemed like kind of a waste of time to me. And, there's a certain point in which it has to look decent and have a good user experience. But I kind of find now that all I care about is getting the answer. And when I say to Claude in particular, Sonnet 4, craft me an interactive, interactive dashboard that does X, Y, and Z and shows, the answer to this question. I don't really care what it looks like. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good enough, and it's like, I did some today where like the color themes were god awful. It was like purple and yellow, but it's like, I don't really care because I just need to answer the question and then I'm moving on. And yeah, if I was going to be staring at this thing, every morning, for the next 6 months,
Mm,
and looking at KPIs, I'd want it to look better. But for the
mm,
most part, most of the analyses that I do and that clients do that I'm involved with is largely just give me the answer in a way that is visually okay, that doesn't
mm,
detract from the analysis and from my understanding of the recommendations. And
mm.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
100%. Because this is like a dimension change in terms of, I mean, this is Gen BI, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
generative BI. And this is what's happening all over the place is that you'll be able to generate things for so cheap and so quickly that building something forever or building something static that sits within an organization and you look at constantly, I think we're getting to the end of that. I really do. I think we're moving to this rapid decrease in cost per insight. And that rapid decrease is just going to mean you're going to generate it, throw it out, generate it, throw it out, generate it, throw it out. You just don't even care about this building it up at one go, right? And not only is it getting cheaper, it's getting better because of how you'll be able to mash up so many different things, like with internet data or just the AI knowledge and behind the scenes. It's just better too. It's better.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, I just think there's a huge step change coming here. And I think that's just reality. And I totally agree. Like a lot of that stuff took a lot of time. But when you were building it for a stakeholder, for example, to impress the stakeholder, you didn't want to put
Right.
something terrible in front of them, right? You wanted to make it look good and impress them and things like that. But what if the stakeholder just goes to the AI and just gets the insight straight away? That sort of cuts that entire process out, right? Like I would say most stakeholders or most board members or CEOs would love to just do a deep research on a particular part of their business and just have all of the data ingested and then just read a report. Like I think most people would be very happy with that. And maybe even read it on their phone. Maybe analytics is going to get better, by the way. Like I don't actually think analytics is getting worse. I think it's just like
Oh,
it's 100% changing because when you get it into these AI planets, you can talk. Like that's the other benefit, right? You can talk to get the insight. Then you can get the AI voice to talk back to you the insight. So the insights are 10 times better, and they're happening 10 times cheaper and so much faster. Like it's just so much better all around. So look, I have no doubt that that change is going to happen so rapidly, as I said earlier. Like I think we're already in these things. We're already doing deep research. We're already using AI voice. Like it's just going to be the friction is just nothing, absolutely nothing to
yeah.
transfer to this new way of doing things.
So there was a concept that I wanted to flow with you that I hadn't thought of before, but I think it would be the worst job ever created. But I think
Hmm.
he's right, is that Ethan Malik said he was doing an interview at the New York Times, and they asked him, what job is AI going to create that does not exist now?
Hmm.
And he said, I love this, it is sin eater. And what it was is the person who is responsible for the final product, that basically, if the final product is wrong, that's the person to blame. And I thought about that and I thought, that is probably going to be true. It's kind of like your chief quality officer, who is responsible for, and particularly as if you look at like what Perplexity Labs is doing, where they will do a complex analysis, takes 15 minutes of research and creates all sorts of visuals and, Python code and images. And then at the end, they just throw you a write up and a catalog and say,
Mm.
here's everything we did and everything we used, and then you can replicate it yourself.
Yeah.
And there are going to be teams of people, I think, whose job it is to say, I certify this is correct.
Mm.
And I mean, I'll tell you, in my history, I was in a job where one of the responsibilities was system owner. I mean, it was the worst job I've ever had because anything goes wrong with your computer system, you're the owner, you're responsible, and it was terrible. I'll tell you, in the first hours of the Deepwater Horizon spill,
Mm.
our website went just totally off the. I mean, it was like a denial of service attack that
Right.
basically it was like 10,000 times the amount of traffic, and it just
Yeah.
shut the site down.
Yeah.
And we were geared up for emergencies, but not an emergency of that size because it never happened before. And I literally had, it was like cartoons where I had to hold the phone out here because the number two person in the agency was screaming at me
Right.
to basically get this fixed. And I'm like, it ain't like I'm not trying.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think there are going to be people who are going to be basically at the other end of that phone when somebody's screaming about AI did this or AI did that. It's like there's somebody who's got to take the blame. And I think he's totally right. And I will say conclusively from my experience, that job sucks.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I think like AI auditing tools are going to be quite a big deal too, right? Because if, say, your CEO or your board members are doing something like that eventually, you're going to want to audit what is going on, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting opportunity for sure, for sure. Because the benefits are too great to not go down this route eventually. Like for those who may listen in and haven't used it, the first time you use an MCP analytic experience, there's no going back. There honestly is. It's just that superior. So someone's going to have to order this stuff, aren't they? So that
Yeah.
could be quite a big thing. Because even if it tells you, okay, this is exactly what I did, there's still going to be someone
You've got to check that.
you're going to have to check it. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah. And
interesting. It's going to be interesting.
there's going to be somebody at the end of that phone, and it's not going to be an AI. It's going to be
No,
a person.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's going to be so many jobs created in this AI wave. I think that's a weird choice, honestly. So many. Like, who's going to manage and sell all the robots? Like, there's one. I mean, there's going to be millions of
I
people in
think
that.
that's Jensen Wong.
There's going to be millions of people in that industry. Absolutely millions. Yeah. And, just software and agentic systems and all this kind of stuff. There's this new wave of things you can do digitally. Yeah, I would say I certainly have not figured it all out myself. Like I'm trying to figure it out too, exactly where the opportunity is. I mean, I know that building software has become a lot easier and all that, but is that a huge business? Like, where's the biggest business opportunity? Yes, if you can get into a spot where it becomes viral, or if like a lot of enterprises see it as a huge advantage of what they've currently got, then yes, it's got a lot of potential. But that has not become that's not that easy these days as well. And did you see Lovable? I think I might have seen you. Lovable had like a hackathon on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, they
200
were free for the entire week.
free for the entire weekend. 250,000 apps, they said, were started on their platform.
It's a brilliant
Started.
strategy.
250,000 applications. One of the CEOs said in the first 5 years of the internet, not even that many apps were created. So in one weekend,
One weekend.
more apps were created than the first 5 years of the internet.
Yeah.
That's not an acceleration. I don't know what to tell you. That is insane. Absolutely insane. When I saw that, I was like, this is just 100% highlighting the themes that we've been on about, and that we're moving to this world of apps and experiences and stuff online, aren't we? Like, so everyone's sort of pivoting and realizing this, and it's the age of experience online. See, it's the age of building online. It's not the age of reading content anymore and going to forums and things like that. It's totally switching. And what that means is it's hard to know all the permutations there and opportunities there, but there's a lot. There certainly is a lot.
Well, and that's been my theme is that don't let people decide that for you. Like, do it yourself. Like, try, like, my whole thing now is, and I have no stake in the game other than the fact that I love this stuff.
Yeah.
That my whole thing is like, just get in and try a couple of easy MCP servers. Just hook it up to, whatever model you're using, and just try it. And I have yet to have somebody who did that and didn't come back and say, whoa, like that is an unbelievable experience and incredible change. There's literally nobody who's come back and gone, it was fine. Nobody.
I think it'd be impossible to not see it. I think it's just crazy seeing these agents work through, or like the AI just work through everything. All work is going in that direction. No doubt, absolutely no doubt. One of the things that I found quite fascinating and surprising out of you did a survey about, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic about the future? And did I see it right that about 80% said that they were optimistic?
Yeah. And that doesn't come across.
You would not sense that by reading LinkedIn, isn't it? It's just basically half the time I feel like I'm doom scrolling on LinkedIn and just my feed is filled with negativity. But that just shows you like, I don't know what that shows you, but to me, it just shows you how annoying I'm finding LinkedIn and have for some time now. Is it like, I know I've got to be a bit more strategic around my feed and who I listen to and things like that. But maybe when you read, if you go online, you think that everyone hates AI and resents it and things like that. But that
And is
that was
fearful
that
of
was
losing their job. And
yeah, that was so surprising. It was so surprising. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if maybe that's because the people that follow you have been, you're always quite upbeat. I mean, I've been very upbeat about it as well. So I don't know. Maybe we've influenced some people in that circle, but I don't know. What did you think?
I was surprised. I got to tell you, when I do those polls, I usually have a pretty clear hypothesis about how they're going to turn out. And I put that one up and I'm like, anything's possible in this one. It could have been 80-20 the other way. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't have surprised me, in
Mm.
the sense that I honestly, when that poll went up, I did not know. And I thought if I had to guess, I would have said 50-50.
Mm.
Um, and the fact that it was 80-20 optimistic, as you say, does not square with the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like what last week, what we read about was the AI job apocalypse, or 2 weeks ago, like, and every comment I saw was concern. And it's just, I just, like, it's sort of feeling like there's just so much of that clickbait just makes its way through. Or maybe, and this is actually true of historic comments on YouTube and on news sites. I don't know if you knew that, you saw this as well historically, is that the negative people always actually are the ones that seem to post more. And so that's probably why you see a lot of that negativity. Like the ones that are just sort of a bit more positive and a bit more moderate, they don't post about it. And that's probably what is a big part of it as well. You don't actually get much benefit on social media sites if you're just constantly posting positive stuff. It doesn't get people to comment in a lot of cases. I don't know. What do you think? Is that right? Is that
Yeah,
sort of,
no, I mean, it's funny. I posted last night about, kind of the people I follow on social media and on YouTube and elsewhere, on AI. And they're all like calm, like rational, thoughtful people. And it's like
mm,
that's not what explodes on social media. And
mm,
that the really Ethan Malik is the only one who's got, kind of a gigantic following. And some of them have, quite small followings, but I think they're just gems in the sense that they're people who they're not selling anything. They're not
mm,
trying to sway you for their own benefit. They're just looking
mm,
objectively at, is this true? Is it not? And they're kind of calmly assessing and in a very data driven way. I mean, every one of those people are data driven to the nth degree. To me, it's like, that's what I want to follow. I don't want that people are, screaming on either side.
yeah, that's sort of is sort of why my theory is I feel like people are going to move away. Like, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I think maybe we're starting to see it a little bit. Is that people want to not get caught up in that, like rage baiting or whatever. I mean, I certainly don't, but I've got to stop follow. I got to keep clicking that button that blocks content for people I
Right.
don't want to hear from. But one of the other things I've always thought about social media, and maybe I didn't live my truth at the start of the year, but I just never thought that there was like a real opportunity, like business opportunity, or like I never thought that you benefited as a business if you just went out and you just did rage posting, or you just did post to get engagement on these platforms. Like you might get more clicks and you might get more likes, but are you going to get more business? Are you going to get people who truly follow you? That's kind of what I've always thought. But the problem I've had with LinkedIn is that I've got 30,000 followers, but because my posts aren't this like clickbait now, it doesn't get any near the reach. So it's kind of like the platform changed the rules sort of as we sort of built up. So that's kind of annoying. But
I mean, it's kind
yeah,
of like the SEO thing. I think it really
yeah,
mirrors that. My numbers are way, way down, and I don't care. It's like,
mm,
to me, it's like I would much rather have, a comment like the Steve Fox comment we talked about earlier that,
mm,
just makes me think and kind of changes my view. I'll take that over 100,000 views any day of the week.
yeah, yeah. I was referencing that I got really annoyed about Fabric at the beginning of the year, and that was my highest engaged post by about a factor of 10 or 20 even. But I just, yeah, I probably shouldn't have posted it at the end of the day.
Well, I remember when I worked for Enterprise DNA, there was only one rule. And do you remember what the one rule for me was? No fighting with people on the internet.
Yeah. No, I definitely have not lived my truth. I have not I have not lived that truth to 100%, unfortunately, but I try my
Well,
best.
you used to tell me that. It's like, don't fight with people on the internet. You know,
Yeah.
it's a no-win situation. And it's why, I really just try to, as we talk about kind of keeping that diversity of thought, but kind of making sure everybody's data driven and they
Mm.
don't come with kind of built-in biases and self-interest. If you kind of focus on that, I still find, LinkedIn to be a very positive place in the sense that I learn from it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I basically learned from your post, and that's about it at this point.
I'm glad, I'm glad they're hitting the mark for you.
Yeah.
But likewise, and it's like I frankly, you're cranking out so much good content that there are days when I'm like, oh man, I just felt two more videos behind.
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm trying. I don't know if it's resonating sometimes. It's pretty tough there. But this is just a time where we've got to evolve, we've got to change. It's just the realities of being a tech business, like tech
Yeah.
changes and you gotta be head down evolving. I honestly have never worked this hard since I started Enterprise, Also, I'm working day in, all day, all night,
Yeah.
just going hard, but doing things I'm enjoying. Like I am loving being a developer. Like I love this new world. I mean, I'm not even a developer. I'm an orchestrator, as you said. Like
Right.
I'm an application orchestrator, trying to bring a vision to life within an app, within an agentic app. And I think the direction is right. It's just going to take time to sort of pay off. Yeah. The one thing with this democratization of software is that where does anyone have a competitive advantage? Like where does anyone make any money at this point?
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Like you can do cool stuff. You can build really cool stuff. Is it really a business? I don't know. I sway back and forth depending on if I've had a good night's sleep or not in a lot of cases. Like, I don't know. I don't know. What do you
Well,
think?
I mean, if you think about, let's take, Perplexity, Windsurf, Supabase, Cursor, and a few others. Who else has made a big splash other than the big players?
Yeah, there's a handful of people on Twitter that I see. You never see anything on LinkedIn about people's products doing well. Like they seem to throttle those any reference of like a software or something that just gets throttled. Anytime I mention anything we've built at Enterprise DNA, post goes absolutely nowhere. Like we're talking hundreds of views. So the feed really gets rid of all that stuff, only pushes Microsoft products. But on Twitter, you see it a little bit, but it's not many. It's not many.
Still not a lot. I mean, I think I'm
No.
always on the lookout for, for great software and ideas and stuff I can use and plug in. And I mean, it's happening. I mean, there are thousands of people writing amazing MCP servers, but
Mm.
that's kind of a short-term project. And as you say, like the minute somebody releases a good one, there's seven more, in the catalog. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where
You
the
know the
business
reason
is.
why? You know the big reason why is it's all of the if you just think about where you live on the internet. So you used to live in Google, you spend time in social media, in LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. All of these platforms, I'm pretty convinced of this. I don't know for sure, but pretty convinced they have AIs running across every single post now. And if that post is somewhat promotional as a business, they don't give it any organic reach. None. None on any platform because they're better off forcing you to pay. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that. Like, that's why you never see anyone, like, you very rarely see someone's app that they've built on new software. You do sometimes, like sometimes, but not consistently. Like consistently, you'll see Power BI post every single day. Consistently, you'll see Power Apps posts get hundreds of likes, for example, right? So, because Microsoft pushed their own products on the thing. But if it's a different one, if it's someone else's software, you might see a bit of a tick up, like when it releases or a bit of buzz at the start, but you'll very rarely see it consistently in these feeds because there's no incentive for these platforms to organically get reach for these products unless you pay them. And
Right.
they're the gatekeepers. That's what they can do. So that is a reason. That is one of the hard things about software business now is yes, you can build great software, but it's still so hard to distribute online. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find these pieces of software because Google's getting disrupted, so it's quite hard to get into like and ads cost twice as much now. So there's not much of a business selling software at $20 a month or something anymore. Like it's really, really hard. And then you've got to pay on Twitter, you've got to pay on LinkedIn, you've got to pay on Reddit, you got to pay in all these places now to get visibility. That's also a big reason why you're not seeing it and why it's quite a hard business model.
Oh, it's funny because like now on LinkedIn, like every time before you hit send, it says, "Do you want to boost this post?"
Yeah.
And it's almost like the protection rackets where it's like, "Hey, that's a nice car you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it."
Mm,
It's like,
mm.
well, that's an interesting post. Be a shame if nobody saw it or read it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I'm never gonna pay to boost anything, but you can
Mm.
see now that it's like if you have something you're really trying to sell, you'll probably pay.
Yeah. Well, that's why LinkedIn makes $4 billion a quarter.
Exactly.
I think they bought LinkedIn for 16 billion or 17 billion from memory. So they're basically making as much revenue as what they bought it for. I don't know how long ago they bought it, like 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. So it's incredible
Yeah.
growth, absolute incredible growth. But yeah, I mean, that is a reason. It's been the way for a while, actually. I would even guess that I think YouTube is kind of similar as well. Like, I'm not 100% sure on YouTube, but
They bought that for $1 billion, which is, I mean, that's like buying Manhattan for $24. I mean,
yeah, totally. It's absolutely incredible
it's
business.
one of those valuable properties in
Yeah,
human
yeah,
history.
yeah. So that's why it's a tough one. Like it's building great software is an opportunity, but distributing it is still I'm not 100% sure how you differentiate there. It's
Yeah.
because that's the same with there is no business just being a product in a lot of cases. There's no business just distribution. You need both to be in sync to actually have a real business.
Yeah.
And so everything I see online at the moment is that's hard. It's just hard. It's expensive, and I haven't quite figured it out. I think that yeah, there'll be a way. There'll be opportunities, but it's not as clear one day to the next at the moment. Well, by the next time we chat, I'm going to be an MCP expert. I'm going to be a global MCP expert. I'm also going to have Claude Code going with multi-agents on my machine. I'm going to go so deep into these things. So we'll have some further good insights next time. Nice. Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay, bye.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot.
Thanks, Sam.